academic year. We really wanted to make sure that everyone was up to date on a lot of programmatic changes we've had. We've had new hires. We're moving to an online system of Kit reservations. And so we just wanted to make sure everyone was up to date and had the tools they needed to best implement the ABE-Labs and get the help they need from us today. So before we begin, I really do want to give everyone a huge warm welcome back. I know the past 2 years have been really difficult, and I know that's an understatement. We're really lucky to have such a dedicated group of teachers that we work with, and really I'm impressed by everyone's perseverance. I mean, you've put up with really 2 years of just uncertainty and complications, and yet all of you stuck not only with ABE, but with also just being educators. I know it's not an easy time to be an educator. And so we always say this at ABE, that all the teachers are the heart of our program. It's through you that we're able to make an impact. It's through your actions and helping each student every day that we're making the world a better place. So really, an applause for everyone in the room. And this lovely picture is, we're finally bringing back our PDIs at the Huntington Gardens for the first time this summer. So we had a lovely, lucky group of people who got to go and get a tour of the gardens. It was a lovely time getting to see everyone in person. I will say, though, it was very hot that day. We had some people who couldn't make it through the tour. I'm not going to lie. So right off the bat, I wanted to get everyone up to date on ABE staff. So we've had a lot of changes in who's in our program this past year, beginning with yours truly. A lot of you know me or knew me as the PVC site coordinator, but this past June, I became the site director for the ABE-LA program. I'm really excited to do everything I can to make this program great for everyone. We're working as a team to make improvements every day. So I thank you for your patience, and I really look forward to working with everyone. Just a little bit about myself, my background. I have a master's in agronomy from the University of Florida, and let me tell you today, I feel like I'm back in Florida. It is really, really swampy outside. So taking my place at the Pasadena Bio Collaborative is our lovely Renee Bixby. Unfortunately, she was not able to make it this morning, but she worked for an entire year as the site coordinator for the Orange County facility. So she is very well versed in the methods and processes for ABE-LA. She's super excited to work with everyone in Pasadena. And so she also, similar to me, has a background in plant sciences. And she has a really strong interest in mycology. So if you ever want to talk about fungi, she's a gal. She's a real fun guy. So after a 6-month leave, Dr. Joe Wu, our amazing Dr. Joe Wu, who we appreciate and has been with ABE-LA for such a long time, is returning to the Orange County Distribution Center. So again, she wasn't able to join us today, but we're really excited to have her back. For those of you who are unaware, she is a professor at Fullerton College. She worked really hard on starting up the biotech program there. And so she's won a number of awards for her amazing teaching ability, and she's been a part of ABE-LA practically from the start. She also really enjoys paper crafting. She's very good at it. It's really impressive. We have some new hires also at the Fullerton College site. So first we have technician number 2, Gladys Rodriguez. She has a BS in microbiology from California State University. She actually went through a lot of the biotech certificate programs at Fullerton College. She is going to be working diligently on making all the reagents and preparing all the kits at the Fullerton College site. And some of her interests are scrapbooking, poetry, and spending time with her family. Another new exciting hire is Stephanie Tan. She is also going to be a part of the Orange County team, working with Dr. Joe Wu and with Gladys. And so she actually currently works doing outreach coordinator work for Fullerton College as well, and she really enjoys visiting local cultural and historic sites. Next, we have our lovely Karen. She really is like a pillar for ABE, keeping everything up and moving and going. So she has 15 years of experience with the ABE-LA program. She has a BS in microbiology, and she really enjoys native gardening and entomology. I've actually been lucky enough to receive some plant seedlings from from her in the past, so she has a lovely native garden. Next, we have some new additions to our team, so semi-new. We have Dr. Chandra Arora. She is going to be working. She works as the liaison for the ABE-LA team at Mission College, so she's really going to be working with getting new.
She's here.
Oh, I'm so happy you're able to join us. Good to see you today. What a happy surprise. My heart is so warm. So she started LA's first biomanufacturing program at Valley College, a super impressive feat. So she is the queen of biotech, as is Joe. We have quite a few queens of biotech in this room. And so Chandra, like Joe, has also received a lot of recognitions for her amazing teaching ability. She's a wonderful professor. And some of the things that she enjoys are cooking and reading. Oops. Also, another new addition to our team, right next to Chandra, is our lovely Sabina. So Sabina is working as the center coordinator for our Mission College site, which again is one of our newer sites. It was just opened up last year and has become more official this year. So we're really excited to have Mission College, Chandra, and Sabina on board. It's a really amazing team we have going on. So Sabina's background is in public health. She's actually recently just got accepted to a master's program in public health, so congratulations. So she's going to be a busy gal, working both doing ABE-LA work and doing her studies, and I think she also has quite a few other positions under her belt, so she's a powerhouse over there. She speaks so many languages, Urdu, Hindi, and Punjabi fluently, very impressive, and she enjoys baking, cooking, and gardening as well. Over in the corner, manning our camera, is Luz is the site coordinator for Channel Islands. She's a quiet force to be reckoned with. Honestly, she's very quiet, but oh my gosh, she's so well composed, and she has some of the best ideas for our program. So Luz Hernandez, she has a BS in environmental biology. Like a lot of us, we're all really into like the natural sciences in our group. She enjoys road biking, bouldering, and she's fluent in Espanol.
She's awesome.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Stacy Zamora. So she is our center coordinator for Trade Tech College. So LA Trade Tech College is one of our newest sites, which is finally up and running. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. So she has a master's in biology with an emphasis in neurology. And like a lot of us, she also enjoys hiking, reading, and she is also fluent in Spanish.
FYI, we're having another teacher meeting next week at Fullerton, and they're running this.
Exactly. So, we're going to get started with some brief LA program updates and reminders. So, right off the bat, I really want to emphasize to everyone to visit our website. This is the #1 resource hub for everything you really need to be able to participate in the ABE-LA program. And also it's chock full of resources to help you with implementation. We also have links to office hours. So it really is the central area for you to go to get involved with ABE-LA. Of course, other than emailing and corresponding your site coordinators. So real quickly, I wanted to give you all just a little brief tour of the website so you have a better idea of how to use this resource. So across the top, we have a few different sections. We have an About page where you can learn more about your site coordinators. They have a contact information there as well. Over here, we have a page with career information. So this is really useful to share with your students. We have links on career exploration. We have information about paid internships. We also have information about biotech program degrees within California that are local to a lot of the schools and distribution centers that we work with. So a lot of good information there for your students. Over here we have workshop information, so you can see that you have these short links to register for upcoming workshops. We also have all our different events listed here along with RSVP information, the agenda, parking directions. So if you ever get an email for one of these workshops and you're not able to find that email again, you can always just visit our website and the information will be there. And most importantly is this section here called distribution centers. So If you're looking for resources for implementing or getting ABE-LA kits, what you should do is visit our website and then select your distribution center. So we can use Channel Islands, for example, and it'll bring you to a page that looks like this. It has the information for your site coordinator, the address of the facility from which they work, and then a bunch of important resources. So we're going to go more into depth about online ordering later on. Karen will lead us in that endeavor. But just as a quick overview and reminder, the first resource you'll see is directions on how to order your kit and supplies, and then that's followed by all the different forms that you need to complete to be able to get your kit and return your kit with the ABE-LA program. All center websites also have parking directions. We have the links to our YouTube channel, the PO YouTube channel, video resource list, and a newer addition that we'll talk about in a little bit is also these office hours that we're offering. So all the information you really need for resources is here. The other thing I really wanted to highlight are this and this, these two resources right here, the ABE-LA Teacher General Resource Folder and the Channel Islands Teacher Resource Folder. So when you're looking for Channel Islands specific information, like a kit schedule or another version of these forms, you're going to go to that site specific folder. So there you'll find, as I said before, like information about the site's kit notebook. So every site has a kit notebook that has information about how to do all the ABE-LA labs. It's a really great resource. It's essentially like a question and answer resource. It's like a big booklet where you can pretty much just control find how to pour gel, and it'll come up. Each site also has kit checklists. It's the list of equipment that you get when you check out your kit. And then parking direction information, stuff like that. So that's the site-specific information, but the more important resources, I would say, are located in the teacher's general resource folder. So the general resource folder, I know it might look a little overwhelming, there's a lot of folders here, but that's because the information is divided up by lab sequence. So for example, if you're just doing Lab 1, Tools of the Trade, you can click on this folder here, and it gives you a bunch of printable worksheets, like flowcharts. You can find troubleshooting information for those labs, additional activities for those labs, and student protocol checklists, which I think most of you are aware of, but it's a new addition we have this year, which is essentially like an abbreviated version of the student manuals, and they're covered in like a film so that your students can mark off the steps of the lab as they complete them and then wash them off with alcohol. So for whatever lab you're doing, you can find a specific folder, so focus on bacteria, abridged, complete, Lab 6, colony PCR, with that troubleshooting information and additional lab printout activities. One folder I really want to highlight here is Lab Prep. So this is where you can find additional information on how to dilute buffers, how to make gels. We also have all the equipment manuals listed here. But let me remind you that this information I'm showing you, it's a little bit redundant because, as I said before, we have these kit binders, these kit notebooks for each site, and all that information is in there as well. So this is if you don't want to go through the kit binder and you're looking for just something quick, you can always access these folders instead. So any questions about this folder?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure where that is. I'm on your site, so how do I get to that folder
Sure.
again?
So you go to your distribution center.
Got it.
And then next, you click on ABE-LA Teachers General Resources Folder. And
Okay,
brings
got
you
it.
this.
Thank you.
Perfect, no problem. Close out of this. Oops, wrong button. There we go. All right, so as I mentioned before, we have our new LA Trade Tech College Distribution Center, which is now open. Woohoo! It's taken some time for us to actually get into the lab space, but we now have an official lab space set up, so we're really excited. And again, this is the center for Stacy Zamora. She's the center coordinator there. If you are served by the LA Trade Tech Center, you can find parking directions all on the website. And you can also, of course, always correspond with Stacy if you have any questions. So I really briefly wanted to mention, so for Fullerton College, we are having a change in procedures. So in the past, Fullerton College used to occasionally supply teachers with aliquoted reagents and gels due to changes in how things are organized at Fullerton College, and also just our capacity. We have a lot of teachers that we're serving. They are no longer going to be offering the gels and the aliquots because they just don't have the manpower to create it. So I do want to mention that all the other sites have been doing this themselves since the start. It's really been only Orange County that has had this benefit. But we are here to hold your hand through the process. Making gels really isn't that complicated, and we're happy to help you in any way. So again, you can find information about how to pour gels and how to aliquot within this lab prep equipment folder on the ABE-LA website. And you can also find video resources that have instructional videos on how to do all these processes and procedures. So again, we also have aliquoting guides and tips. So just a reminder, when you're aliquoting, for those of you who haven't aliquoted before, there's an aliquoting guide in the guide, the teacher guide. We recommend that you don't use that, and we use our alternate aliquoting guide, which again is located in that aliquoting guide and tips folder on our website, just because this guide has you aliquot slightly extra for each reagent. That way you're less likely to have like 10 students in your class be like, I don't have enough! So it's very helpful. And just some quick tips for anyone who is from Fullerton College and is a little worried about aliquoting. Suggestions that we have is to work, first of all, with other teachers at your school. If you have other people doing the program, to aliquot together. Make it a party, get some pizza, make it fun. Even if you don't have other science teachers that are doing ABE-LA with you, just any other coworker that you're friendly with, just grab them. Be like, we're going to get aliquot, you're going to learn science today. It'll be a fun learning experience. So we suggest that you always aliquot early on. This allows you to determine where your reagents are being stored, determine if you have enough of each reagent. So if you're ever panicked, you can be like, oh, please, site coordinator, help me. And then just a note that all reagents except Lab 5 competent cells can and should be aliquoted as soon as you get your kit. We had a question in the back. Oh, yeah.
I wasn't the question. I think I came up later. Somebody else?
You had a question in the back before? You put your hand down? Maybe not. Just kidding.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir here, but when I aliquot per lab, so it's in a box. So each lab has its own box with all of its tubes, and then it helps me not stress out.
Yeah, organization is key. A lot of teachers, what they do is they have, there's several little tubs that they keep in the freezer, and so it's class, morning class, like period 2, period 3, and keep everything organized and separate. You can also separate it by lab sequence as well. And we have a note here that students can help you prepare agar solution and cast gels. A lot of teachers give extra credit for this. And we will note that if you have students who are really well trained and you really trust them to know how to use a pipette well, you could recruit them to help you with aliquoting. But we want to emphasize that you shouldn't just grab any student. It really should be someone who knows how to use a pipette, because otherwise you might end up with like 30 vials with like half the volume that you were expecting, or twice the volume. So one of the last updates I have are virtual office hours. So this will be especially useful for anyone from Fullerton College who has any questions about aliquoting, buffers. But really, this is a time meant for you to ask any and all questions and to give suggestions. If you have an idea for something that you think would be beneficial for us to discuss as a group, to bring up as a workshop, feel free to come on by and speak your mind. We're happy to hear it. So these office hours, they occur currently on Mondays from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. The next one that's coming up around the corner is on September 12th. And again, you can find this all online, so I just want to make sure everyone really knows where it is. So again, if we go to that ABE-LA website, if you click on whatever your distribution center is and scroll down, there it is, office hours. Super easy to follow, and it brings you to this Zoom link that's a repeating Zoom session that you can just click on and join. So any questions about the updates we've had?
Fantastic.
Good to go? guests. One of our two special guests, all the way from Massachusetts on the East Coast. East Coast West Coast, maybe, no? We have Rebecca Lewis. So she is the director of the ABE program at the program office level. So she's the big boss.
Yeah.
So she's going to be joining us today to speak a little bit about the history of ABE. So join me in welcoming Rebecca.
I'll try and click. What do I do?
Oh, wait a minute, we don't know if we trust you.
Actually, maybe you should just do it. Let's be honest, I am not tech savvy. I'm so delighted to be here. I was saying this morning, I have not been on Pierce campus since 2011, which is when the Amgen Foundation decided, you know what, this program's growing way too big and we can't quite figure out what's happening anywhere because we have the incredible Dr. Marty Akanda, who was the longtime director. He is a full-time professor and he's running this on the side. And he really can't keep up with 10 other program sites in other countries. So he brought us here for the first ever convening of the existing program sites. And Winnie Sloan, who's back there, came and spoke about her history with the program and sort of talked about her implementation of the program. So I have been with the program now since 2011. We established the program office in 2013 and are now working at 25 program sites around the world in 13 different countries. And looking to expand to 3 additional countries within the next 6 months or so. So I'm just going to go through and give a bit of the history for those of you who don't know, and there's Marty right there. 2 years ago, we celebrated the 30th anniversary of Amgen Biotech Experience, which is pretty phenomenal, particularly when you consider the roots of this program. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. You want to, Becca?
Beginning. I mean, we could tell this was going to be a powerful program.
In 1990, leaders of Amgen set out to help teach high school students in their community about biotechnology, using the latest tools in science.
We kind of cobbled this together on a shoestring budget. It was under the radar with lab leftovers and such, and so the idea that it's got stable funding and it's in all these classrooms in all these countries is quite amazing to us.
We were very successful at the very beginning, but it was because of the resources that Amgen could provide and the excitement that the teacher participants could provide that the program grew and grew and grew.
We think that maybe by 2021, there'll be probably 1 million students that have gone through this program. It's been a game changer.
Over 30 years, the Amgen Biotech Experience has been taught by more than 3,600 science educators who have inspired nearly 850,000 students across 13 countries. And now, with the power of the free virtual lab experiences available on Lab Exchange, the impact of the Amgen Biotech Experience continues to grow. Students and teachers now have more access to biotechnology than ever before, leading to careers in the sciences, medical discoveries we benefit from today, new perceptions of biotechnology, and countless other outcomes we cannot yet imagine. Let's keep inspiring.
So as I said, that was the 30th anniversary. You heard Marty say we were hoping by 2021 we'd reach 1 million students. We had a little worldwide issue that came up that kind of disrupted that. I know it didn't affect you all, but it definitely did affect others. And so we're hoping we'll reach that 1 million mark this year. We should. We're over 900,000 students to date now. We just got our data from last year, and strangely, lots of the other sites around the world were able to continue their schools. A lot of them reopened a lot sooner than LA did. But those of you who don't know, out of the approximately 100,000 students each year who go through the program, about 25,000 of those are served by the ABE-LA site. So this amazing team is servicing 25% of our entire program and do an incredible job and have forever. So we are so excited to be here and really to celebrate that, because it has been this long history, starting with the gentleman up in the top right corner, who's Bruce Wallace, and he was one of the first Amgen scientists, along with Rick Jacobson. And they really wanted to make sure that schools were understanding what was happening and what biotechnology was, what they were doing in Amgen. So they invited Hugh Nelson, the gentleman in the middle of those top 3 pictures, to come one summer from his classroom and learn about what they're doing. He said, you know what, we could bring this out into the schools. And so for a number of years, he had some cardboard boxes, and teachers like Winnie would literally go up to the Amgen gates, and people would hand out equipment that they had taken.
No, we went in the buildings.
Oh, you went in the buildings? Back then, okay.
Walk in and pull things off shelves.
So eventually, Amgen, became a little more corporate and said, yeah, that you can't do that. There's now a big gate and security, and you have to sign in to even get on campus. So it's changed a little bit, obviously. And as we've gone on, we've really tried to, especially since the program office came on, help ensure that there's stability so that as people leave the program doesn't fall apart where it is. Next slide. So as I mentioned, we are now in 25 program sites around the globe. We just opened new program sites in North Carolina and Ohio. And one of the things I'm most excited about is our partner in North Carolina is HBCU. And this is the first time we've ever been able to partner with a minority serving institution as our host organization. We are also exploring for the first time moving into Latin America and into Africa. So we have a potential partner in South Africa and a potential partner in Sao Paulo, Brazil, as well as one in Mexico City. And these are just people from around the globe who are part of our program site. See Karen in there, of course, and Joe, Wu. And we really just try to, as a program office, bring together these folks and help them learn from one another so that they're not always reinventing the wheel, but also because we have not yet figured out how to download Karen's brain and just make it available to people. So, it's, how invasive can we be? Yeah.
What strikes me is how many women are involved.
Yes.
Girl power.
Absolutely.
Really essential.
Yeah, and I'll say most of the men up there would probably say it's the women on their teams who do most of the work. Alain, who's our site director in France, is a professor at École Normale Supérieure, a very prestigious university, and he says, this program wouldn't happen if it weren't for my coordinator and my lab tech. I'm just here to make sure that they get checks. So yes, it is. It's very important, but we definitely are very female heavy. You're the next. So here are the numbers to date, and as I said, ABE-LA is obviously a huge, huge piece of that. What isn't represented here, and I didn't put a slide, but around 2015, well, when we first started working with Amgen Foundation, EDC, and established the program office, we said, it's wonderful that you're reaching these schools, and we're so excited about the program. The one thing we would really love to do is make sure that we're really focusing on schools that have higher needs, students with higher needs, whether it's that they're, have special education needs, they come from backgrounds where they don't have role models that are in the sciences, who are professionals. Can we make sure we're reaching out, because we're constrained where we expand our program to Amgen communities? Can we be a little more open about what an Amgen community looks like? So, for example, here we have a program that stretches across a huge swath of Southern California. And that just happened because of Marty's partnerships and friendships. But in some place like Massachusetts, where we are based, our partner is at Harvard University. So way on the East Coast, eastern part of our state. And while we're a much smaller state than you, we also are a state where people will not drive from the western part of our state because it's a very rural area out west and they don't go into the city. And so they made a partnership with a community college that's in the western part of their state, of our state, to try to reach out into these communities that don't have any opportunities for things like this normally. And so we've really been trying to talk not only within the United States, but around the globe about how do you reach these communities and these young people who just don't have opportunities. And I just wanted to share a story. I was just speaking with our site director in Singapore. And Singapore is obviously a very high GDP, low place. You think of, they fund their schools very, very well. But they also have a very large population of folks who are immigrant workers. And those people's children cannot necessarily go to school because of the system. They're not allowed to go into the formal schooling. And so what our program site there has been doing is running weekend programs where they have the kids come and they give them vouchers to take transportation there. And then on the last day of the program, they bring the families and they do a meal so that their families have sort of a celebration of their children and can learn what they're learning about here. And that's the kind of thing that, as much as reaching every child is important, those moments just need that much more because these are kids who don't get access otherwise. And that was really the driving force behind starting the LA Trade Tech Distribution Center and bringing the program into communities that could benefit from it, rather than asking them to come out and leave the city, leave downtown area, and come out to participate in something. So we're really trying to make it more accessible. And as a result, at least in the United States, we are now serving over 50% of our schools are Title I schools, or schools that are serving more than 50% of their students with free and reduced lunch. So that's a huge, huge impact we're having. And that's, of course, due to all you amazing teachers. So thank you so much. And thank you for being part of ABE.
We have Jessica Juliusen.
That was so good.
I got it. The Director of Community and Strategy for the ABE Program Office.
It's really horrible to have to go after the story of ABE. That's all I can say. So I have to say that it's very moving to be here because Rebecca and I and the folks at the program office oftentimes do not get to actually work with you all who are doing the work on the ground. And one of the things that I've gotten to meet several teachers, including some of you who travel outside of LA for your PBIs, who shall remain nameless. But one of the things that we know is that the teachers in LA, you are our go-to source. You tend to be the first people we turn to when there's a new curriculum to be tried, when there's something we want to ask, when we say, is this going to work? Is it not going to work? Your community of teachers is just an incredible one, and you really are kind of the core of the ABE teacher community. Rebecca talked about the impact and the history of the ABE-LA program, and that's you. And one of the things that is true, we know that we have so many folks in the room who know that history and have that institutional memory of ABE, but we also know there's new faces coming in all the time, and that's what we want. We want this kind of new, fresh perspectives, new ideas, sustaining the program, growing the program wherever they are. And that's really about your community and how inviting and how welcoming your community is. And so really, I'm here, we'll see if I'm tech savvy enough, but really I'm here to say kind of two things. One is, thank you. We know you're the reason this works. This is not a time when, as Gio mentioned, that it's easy to be a teacher. I'm a high school teacher. I was social studies. I usually wouldn't mention that in front of literature science teachers. But, I am a high school teacher, and we know that while teachers were celebrated for probably the first 4 months, 6 months of the pandemic, and then the tide turned. And so, you know, just know that you're seen, and know that the fact that you were able to keep doing the job that you do and focusing on your students in the midst of all that noise and all the stress and all the extra things that were added to your plate and are still being added to your plate. That we know, you know, it's not the paycheck that's keeping you going. It's not political approval that's keeping you going. We know it's your students that are keeping you going. And so from our perspective at the program office, we want to do a couple of things. And one of them is to try to make your jobs easier as much as we can, to make ABE something you can do, that you can integrate, that is not going to become something that is too burdensome to pull off in your classroom, no matter what the climate. So to stay on top of what you're being asked to do and try to make ABE doable within that framework. But the other thing we want to do is open up this global community so that you can join that as well, because we know that teachers are what keep other teachers going. You are the ones you turn to when you need to be reminded why you're still here. You turn to your teacher community. And so we think it's one of the most powerful things about ABE. We know it works for our program sites. Our program sites have become a global community. And so we want to make sure that our teachers know that they're part of that global community and have opportunities to participate in it in whatever way makes sense for you and that doesn't ask you to step away from your role as a classroom teacher. So, thanks, Joe. So first, just a word about community in ABE. It's not just a, gosh, we like each other kind of a community. When we say community, it's very intentional, and we believe community does a few different things, and these are valuable things. It's not fuzzy, fluffy, touchy-feely stuff. Community allows both program sites and teachers to share what works. If a lab goes well, or if you have an adaptation or an extension, you say, hey, I tried doing this. I made this out of paper. You guys were still doing it yesterday, actually. You know, we had this great idea, and you share it with others. There's not a lot of turf in the educator world. So you can share what works. You can solve common challenges. I just can't seem to make this thing work. I'm not getting any pink colonies. I'm not, whatever it might be. This kid's being really dense when it comes to this particular protocol. I don't know how to help him understand that. It helps you build relationships and support. You can find out other people, your like-minded people, who love what you love, who get excited about the same dorky things you get excited about in content, who can say, oh my gosh, I want to go to that conference too, whatever it might be. People who want to innovate and co-create with you. You guys need to sometimes feel fed, and you don't always have this space to be able to think of new ideas or to just kind of be creative, to just sit and think and ideate. It's really hard to do when you're always working all the time and you're kind of going from step A to step B. When you have a community that gives you that time, that becomes more possible. We want the community to be able to support leadership, and we don't mean just like being a department head. We're talking about leadership in all kinds of ways, and that can be leadership just in terms of being a great teacher, somebody who really connects with kids, somebody who knows how to reach out to family and community partners. There's all kinds of ways that teachers can kind of lead the way for other teachers, and we want to make the community a place where that can happen for you and you don't have to do a lot of extra hoop jumping to get there. We believe that this community allows educators to connect research to practice. So the research community oftentimes finds out a lot about what works, and it kind of stays up here. So when you have educators who have access to that, they can actually put it into action. They can actually translate that research into stuff that will work in their own classrooms with real kids. And finally, practice continuous improvement. And I'm sorry to use that term because I know a lot of people have had it kind of shoved down your throats. When we say continuous improvement, we may say, why didn't that work? How could I make it work next time? And so we believe that the community is a place that allows you to do that without having to do it all yourself. You can do that with your peers. So the program office is really kind of focusing on 3 goals for how we would love to support you. The first one is to provide opportunities for you to grow your knowledge and skills in biotech and cutting edge science as it emerges. And that's where your program site staff comes in, your PDIs come in, the kinds of sessions that you do at your PDIs, the kinds of experiences that your program sites offer up to you. We try to do that by developing curriculum with and for teachers so that those curricula and new pocket lessons, things like that, tap into things that are emerging in the science world. and ABE on Lab Exchange. We've tried to take all of our materials on ABE and make it accessible in this virtual and hybrid environment, which obviously our timetable on that stepped up quite a bit in the last 2 years, but that's not necessarily a bad thing to be forced in that direction, and I think we were forced to kind of rise to the challenge there. A second goal we have for supporting the teacher community is to support you to bring innovative biotech to students. And you can't do that unless you're around innovative biotech or know about it. So we try to do that in a few ways. One is by having the Ade Volunteer Program, and LA is one of the sites where that's really thriving. And so thank you for all of you who have been able to take advantage of the Amgen staff who volunteer for the Ade Volunteer Program to come into your classroom to talk to your kids. They're able to do this virtually too now. So if you haven't done this, that's something I would encourage you to check out with your program site. Amgen scientists will also work with your program site, but will also come to your PDIs and talk to you about what they do. Some sites allow you to do tours, and we love to get you out if we can in other settings. We're going to be having a program meeting this spring to which our Master Teacher Fellows are invited, which I'll tell you more about in a second. And they'll be able to meet with and talk to Amgen scientists and see a brand new facility for Amgen in San Francisco. The third goal that I want to just talk about is something we've been wanting to do for a long time, but are really focusing on intentionally over the next few years. And that's going to be to engage all of you, all of our ABE teacher community, in both their local and global community. And some of you, I know we've got Wendy here. Is Arlette here?
I don't think Arlette's here.
Okay. So one way that we want to do this is the ABE Master Teacher Fellowship, which is an opportunity for educators to participate in a paid stipended year-long opportunity. I'll tell you about that. To provide opportunities for you all to be leaders, if you want, on the global community. So you could present about a topic that's of interest to you, share a lesson that worked really well, share your strategies for differentiation or culturally responsive teaching. Whatever you know is in your wheelhouse, if you want to share that with others beyond the LA community, we want to make that possible for you to do. And third, ABE Roundtables, and these are a new series that we just started last year that highlight teacher voices and topics of teacher interest. Next one. So I won't take too long. I'll just breeze through these just so you know they're there. The goal really is just so that they're on your radar and you can think about whether these are things of interest to you. The first one is the ABE Master Teacher Fellowship. So this is a year-long, it's really not a whole year because really it starts in November, but we'll call it a year-long opportunity. And teachers apply to become a Master Teacher Fellow, and 12 are selected from around the world. 4 from each of our 3 main regions right now, North America, Europe, and Asia Pacific. And of the teachers selected, they will be receiving $2,000 USD to pursue a passion project of their own and to collaborate with the other fellows. So they have a virtual meeting once every month, and for the first time, we're bringing them together in person this year. We have not been able to do that for the last 2 years, so we're inviting all 3 cohorts of our Master Teacher Fellows to come this spring and finally meet each other for real. But basically, you get to talk with your peers, you get to think about a project that you might like to do. It used to be a curriculum project, but it's not limited to that now, because people have other ideas. So really, we want to support you to develop something you're excited about, but you don't have the time to do in your regular teaching day. We have 2 fellows from LA, and it says a lot that LA has been represented twice in our first 2 cohorts when you've heard how competitive the process is. Any site that's been up and running for 3 years is eligible, and any teacher who has been teaching ABE for 3 or more years is eligible. So if you want to apply, what you do is you let your program site know, and they have an application package. They're actually going to be getting it on the 15th. Looking at Karen. So they'll be getting the package on the 15th, and you just let her know you'd like one. And then you will apply, and the program site will recommend up to 4 teachers from the site. And then you're put into the pool with all the other applicants from around the world. You're selected by the end of October, October 31st, Halloween. I don't think that's symbolic in any way. The meetings kick off. We launch the fellowship in November. Fellows present their work to the program sites from all over the world in May, and then in June, you wrap up your projects and they're published on our website. And you can see an example of Dr. Roy's project from the very first year of the fellowship, which is up there as a teacher resource now. Any teacher all over the world can download that and use it in their classroom. Okay. Next opportunity is teacher roundtables. 2 ways this might be of interest to you. 1, if you want us to host a roundtable, it's just a 1-hour virtual session that we host and record, and then we put it on the website, so it's a resource. If you have a topic you want us to talk about, pull together some Amgen scientists, something you know you want to show your kids, or maybe do something with your kids, let us know. Let your program site know, or you can email ABE Info, the program office, and say, I'd love to see a roundtable on this topic. And we'll do our best to leverage all of the Amgen staff, all of the scientists, all the partners, to put together a really high quality, interesting panel for you to talk about the topic that you're interested in. The second opportunity is that you can be a presenter at a teacher roundtable. If you do something that you're excited about and you want to share, we will have you present. We can put you together with other teachers who are doing the same kind of thing and have a roundtable session that you host. We usually have a facilitator who just asks you questions. You get to talk about what you do. Next slide. And the last opportunity I wanted to share, because this is kind of new. We haven't engaged teachers as much, but we want to more. And so I just want to let you know these exist. The ABE program office facilitates a few different working groups, and mostly these have come up kind of organically because people have said, we really need to be talking about this, and so I want to work with other people who care about this. First one is equity, access, and engagement. How are we increasing opportunity? How are we reaching people, either teachers or students, that we don't usually reach? And so we have a working group established for that. We have a lab exchange working group that looks at what kinds of stuff is on there, how can we make it better, what is missing that we should have there. They can serve as reviewers for things that the program office develops. There's a curriculum review working group. When we develop new stuff, we say, please teachers, tell us if this will work at all in your classroom with your students. And you tell us very honestly, very honestly. And then finally, teacher toolkits. We're working right now, for example, on a teacher toolkit on career connections. And I was really excited to see those great resources on your website. We're hoping to put together just a virtual toolkit that teachers can use for lots of ways to integrate career connections into ABE Labs or into your science classroom more generally. So that's a lot, and I probably went over my time, sorry, Gio. So I just want to end with, next slide, by sharing, this is Dr. David Peggy. He's from our ABE Rhode Island site, and he is one of our ABE Master Teacher Fellows. And he just recently wrote a blog for us that's up on the website. It's kind of beautiful, and it was part of a series that was focusing on teacher resilience during the pandemic and how they survived and strategies that they used. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you is kind of a paraphrase of something he said, which is, no matter what happens and whatever happens in the as yet unknown future, the next set of stewards of the earth are being nurtured, and thanks to all of you, they are blooming. And so we believe that so deeply. So we really want to thank all of you, because it's a cliche, but we really mean it, that you really are the heart of ABE. So thank you for letting us be here.
Resources and inspiring us. So if it's all right with everyone, we're going to take a 10 to 15 minute break so you can run to the bathroom and hopefully eat more food.
The bathrooms are down this way. So
we have Karen Steinhauer. She's going to quickly review the ABE-LA online kit reservation and supply order form procedures. I know some of you who have gone to PDIs recently have gotten this review, but it's really a great refresher. That way you guys know exactly what you're supposed to do to get your kits.
somehow I've got the role of being nagger in chief, which makes me suspect my coworkers, what they think about me. But anyway, I really wanted to first start out and just tell you how valuable the program office is to us. We did not sit on our bums during the pandemic. We developed so many more resources for you. Luz is going to go through some of those with you, but it's really their support of all these programs. I used to be an island here in LA. I never spoke with anybody at the other sites, or they'd call me once in a while to ask for what went wrong, Karen, fix it. But that was it. It's this community that we're building that has helped us grow so much and build so many more resources. And this is what we want to do with you. So keep that in mind. That's one of our big goals. I'm going to go through the rules and regulations really quickly because we've had the pandemic and some people don't remember all this. So we've tried to streamline the process on our website very easily. So first of all, if you'll look, we have the online ordering forms here. We even named them A, B, C, D, E, so if you know your alphabet, you can do them in the correct order. So I guess what we'll start out with, the first thing you're going to do, and all of us have opened our kit schedules, and some of my teachers have not made their reservations. The first thing you would do is go to my Kit Reservation Form. Now this will be similar for every site. You'd go to your distribution center and find that. So the first thing you would do is go to the kit schedule, number 2 right there. And you're going to look and say, oh, this one's open, this time's open. Oh, darn it, that person took that spot. I can't use that. Oh, this one's open. And you're going to actually then go back to Form A, which is the reservation form, and you're going to tell me which 3 spots you would like. Okay? You're not allowed to change the kit schedule yourself, otherwise you'd be erasing each other and putting your names in. We don't trust you to share, we know you. So that's why we do it that way. The earlier these kit schedules usually are put out in May. We usually send you a letter or an email in May saying sign up for the next year. So the smart people get on that and sign up right away. Okay? And then we also have the order form, which I'll go through a little bit more in a minute. That's where we get your actual grocery list of what you need. And then we have a bunch of forms that help us improve our program. So we need them all done by you. So what's our next slide? Okay, so that's what I said you do. You go and you look at the kit schedule for your distribution center. You find a time that works for you, 3 of them. Pick your 3 best. I've had teachers that say October 4th through October 21st. Oh, second time, October 4th through October 21st. The third choice, October 4th through 10th. So I've had that. You can do that. If I can fit you in, I will. We always try to give you your first choice if possible. If you are only getting supplies, you are so much easier to fit in. We can even do you multiple times a year. No problem. This is what we can guarantee a school. A 3-week time slot with a full kit and only once a year. That's sort of our minimum guarantee, okay? We want to please everybody. We want to grow our program and reach as many students as possible. Sometimes we can adjust this and I can give a kit out 2 kits to a huge school or a kit for a longer time period, but that's, that's a customization that is not always available, and that's one of the reasons why you're supposed to be really nice to your site coordinator. Yes.
So for those of us who have the equipment, and we just need the supplies, we pretty much just need to tell you when we need them.
Right, but do fill out the reservation form so we can put you on our schedule in the supplies only.
And do you do the second pickup for the competent self?
Yeah, I'll get to that, yeah. So let's say you had a class that you actually teach one semester and you repeat it again. And if you have your own supplies, you can request it again. Okay, that's totally fine with new students. Okay. Here's an example of PBC's kit schedule. Oh, yes.
If we have multiple teachers on the same site that are teaching different classes, can it be worked out because we don't always have the same things needed on the same time?
It depends on the kit, on the center you're at.
Okay.
So that whole 1 kit for 3 weeks a year, pretty much the teachers have to coordinate how to do it in that 3 weeks time, all of you together. So lots of times the teacher they'll set up one classroom as the biotech classroom and rotate the students through there. You have to figure that out. If you have your own equipment, then if you want to do it, in October, but your colleague's teaching another class and they want to do it in January, and you're just getting supplies, we can totally do that, no problem. Wendy?
Do they still have the list of the equipment? I know at one point LAUSD paid for the equipment for schools that did ABE through CTE.
Yeah, they were going to buy 9 kits and that didn't happen, but yeah.
It might be good to have that list so that if,
I think Liz will cover that when she talks about our resources, but that's in each of the centers' resources list. We have kit checklists, which is so that you can remember to put back everything. I think I went through like yesterday and I counted up, it's not everything, but at least 250 pieces of things I have to count when you return a kit. It's more than that if you do more laps, but yeah. So that I can have that kit ready for the next teacher. And it reminds you what you need to put back in. So when you sign up for a time slot, you're going to have a date that's your pickup date, and you're going to have a date that's your return date. And you need to enter that into your calendar. So we're a very large site. I have 6 kits. I could be running all those 6 kits in and out They come back on a Saturday, they go back out Sunday. And I could have 5 teachers picking up supplies only. I really have to run it like a military operation, okay? So I need your help with this. So yes, sometimes I can make an exception if you can't come in, but please put these dates in your calendar. Don't, Karen, we've got soccer practice Saturday. I can't bring the kit back. I'm gonna bring it back the next week. No, you're not. No, you're not, or you don't get the kit next week, because I need to give that to someone else, okay? So always make that relationship with your site coordinator, smooth that over, you know. You want to work with them, and they will try and work with you, okay? So this is an example of the Pasadena kits. She has 4 full kits, then she has these 3 mini kits that are meant to do just lab 1, the pipetting and gel electrophoresis. And so you would pick what times you want to be signed up already. And each center has different number of kits and different number of types of kits, so you need to look at the kit schedule, talk to your coordinator. If you don't understand the forms, contact your coordinator. So we'll go to the next slide.
Can I note real quick that when you're looking at this, any empty spaces, that's what signifies that that slot's not taken yet. So once someone's taken it, their information gets put up on the calendar. So when you look at it, that's how you can tell what spots are available.
And that's why you don't get to have access to that spreadsheet. Erasing everybody, yeah. First come, first serve. That's why I said, check your emails in May. We try and get that out the 2nd week of May before you all go on vacation and no one's, you know, it's like a dust cloud. You guys are gone. And then we send an email. We tell you what's coming out. We tell you again at the beginning of the semester. I'll tell you again. I mean, I've sent an email out again. I will send an email out. I think I'm going to hunt down my teachers individually now instead of general email. So we're coming for you. So full kits. Who needs to fill out a reservation form? Let's say you're at a school with multiple teachers and you need an entire kit, okay, to do the labs. One teacher can fill out the reservation form, okay, because it's one school, all right? The materials only request if you have your own equipment. Each teacher, if they want to do it at different times, like you mentioned, Mary, they can put in different reservation times, okay? And that way we can plug them into our calendar at different times. Like, okay, I'm going to have Mary in October and I'm going to have Ted in February, okay? So every teacher, if they're you know, have all their own equipment, they can put in their own reservation form if it's going to be different times than the other teacher at their school. Okay, next thing, Form B. Form B is the order or the grocery list that tells us what you need. It's also a very important form because a lot of those answers that you put in that form populate our annual data report that we send back to the program office that gets us money so that we can keep supporting you. So that's very important, okay? Sometimes the questions seem a little redundant, like, didn't you ask me this already? But it has to do with our spreadsheet and how we're populating it. We ask the data questions first, and then we start asking specific questions about which labs, you know, do you want to do lab 6? Do you want to get supernatant, or do you want to get a culture? You know, specific questions after that. Please read the questions thoroughly. We ask for answers in Arabic numerals. Don't write 6. ABE classes or something, you know, write 6. So every question has an example that you can read and it'll tell you how to answer it. If you have a problem and you can't figure it out, who would you contact? Right. We'll help you do it. And we even have a hard copy for our special teachers who really can't figure it out. Anyway, so this is what all that generates for us, is this spreadsheet, and it tells you exactly what you're going to get. And you've all probably gotten this. We ask that you fill out the supply order form 4 weeks before you pick up. Very important. We do not have Keebler elves to make things for you in the middle of the night. Okay? We work hard to make all this stuff. And actually, the things that take the longest are the plates for lab 5 and the cultures for lab 6 and whatnot. So please give us that 4-week time period, okay? All right. And also, don't bother to fill it out unless we've given you a time slot. There's no point. Don't do that. All right. Don't pad the numbers. Our formula actually give you more. Remember when Gio was talking about our aliquoting guide? Students need 10 microliters of plasmid for this lab, for the digestion lab. We give you 12. and you pipette 12 per student, we give you more than that as a teacher so that you can aliquot that out. So don't pad the numbers. We're already padding them in the formula, and then I'm padding them as I'm pipetting out your reagents for you, okay? On the supply order form, you'll notice that here we have our supplies are color-coded according to where they get stored. So blue, everything blue goes in the freezer, everything green goes in the fridge, everything red, that's like the bat phone. You gotta be careful with that. Those are the comp cells. Those go in the isofreeze unit in the freezer, okay? And all of this is also covered in our kit notebooks. And we have a video for it. Okay. Then the Form C is a copy of the ABE Teacher's Expectations and Policies. I am the stickler that demanded we create this when we started getting really big. We started having a lot of equipment broken, a lot of equipment lost, and we had the oldest equipment around the world. So it cost a lot to replace things, and I want that kit to work for the next teacher and the next teacher, okay? So these are policies and expectations we place on you, okay, in order for us to run our site smoothly. And some of them, the expectations are things like, please answer emails from us. I usually try and put a date that something needs to be responded to by and what it's about in the subject line. We try to keep the emails to a minimum, but sometimes it's very critical that we get those emails back. So we ask that you respond to us, respect our equipment, pack the kits back the way they were supposed to be packed, because it takes us so much time to fix it if you don't. You get photos of how to do that, all sorts of things. So you're going to read through this and you're going to sign in blood at the bottom. I mean, maybe red ink. Okay? That's your agreement with us, and it's important. Okay. Then you're going to schedule when you come to pick up your kit and supplies, kit and or supplies. Okay? So at the different centers, it's slightly different. Mission College and Trade Tech, you're going to be emailing your site coordinator. They're small enough now where they can do it just via email. At the larger sites, we do it with something called Sign Up Genius. We use the free version. We'll make an invitation or a schedule for your pickup day and another one for your return date, and you sign up. And so I also send an email. Hey, I sent out the Sign Up Genius invitation. You might want to check your email. Sometimes Sign Up Genius will go to spam, depending on your district, full, email, IT, whatever. Sometimes it goes there. So that's why I send that little extra email. Say, hey, look for it. Because I've had teachers that didn't sign up, and then I emailed them directly, and they're like, I didn't get that. So be sure and sign up. If you do it early, you get the spot you want. Okay. If you don't want to come at 2 o'clock on a Saturday, you want to do it at 9 o'clock, sign up early. Okay. Okay, what do you do during your pickups? We go through and make sure that you have all your equipment. I wish my kit checklist was that simple, but it's not. But I do. I literally go through everything with you. I go through how to store reagents. I answer any questions. This is the last time you're going to see me in person before you go and start the labs. This is a very important time for new teachers because they'll frequently have a lot of questions. And so I give a whole hour to doing this. Okay. Okay. If you took your kit home and you just put everything away in the freezer and you decided you didn't really want to aliquot that first week, you're going to wait, and then you notice, oh, God, Karen gave me the wrong plasmids. It's best if you check things right when you unpack at the school. Check. I usually check to see which plasmids, because Karen's done that before. Sent out just the abridged plasmids when you want it complete. Yes. Very capable of doing that. So check everything. If you find in your kit, now we sometimes don't have time to check. Sometimes I just count how many pipettes come back, and generally look to see if they're in pieces. Okay. So if you find a pipette that perhaps you can't get, you can't turn, the micrometer, or you can't get a tip to sit on it, contact us right away so we can get you replacements so that we know you didn't break it, pay for it, things like that. Also, the kit notebooks. They're virtual, online, and we also give you a hard copy in every kit. They're sort of like the Bible for you. Go to that. I've gotten compliments from a lot of the teachers now about how much information we have in them. So they have all those resources for you. So once you're done doing the labs,
I was going to show real quick the kit notebook. So when you click on your site-specific information, that's the kit schedule, kit notebook. Oh, go back.
There it is right there.
Yeah. It'll be a document like this. You can either look at it, you know, through Google, or you can download it and do Control F.
Okay. Okay, this is how I happen to find my materials. But actually, so yeah, usually you come in, you pick up supplies and kit equipment the first time, and you have that for 3 weeks, but we do usually see you a second time in that 3 weeks to get your lab 5 and 6 supplies, because the comp cells we don't really want sitting in the freezer for too long. They will last for 3 weeks. They will remain competent in the freezer. I actually started this because I had teachers that were saying, I'm going to do lab 5 with 62 groups. And then they'd come back and return everything. Oh, I could only do it with 25. And so I have to go through and QC the plates again that you're returning to me because I don't know how you store them. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I started this, because a lot of teachers will run out of time even though they requested a lot. At the end, they're kind of like, oh, I can't do this all. So that's one of the reasons why. But yes, very critical that you get the comp cells into the freezer. You know, of course, if you could put the whole styrofoam chest in, that's great, but most can't. So just put that, in amongst all the lean cushions. Just get that put the isofreeze way in the back of the freezer and make sure that the other teachers, know that. Don't put it in the door of the freezer that keeps getting open for lunch. And also, I did have a teacher, I found out once at a luncheon that she was thawing the cells on the bench top. No. Thaw them in crushed ice. Yeah, you don't want them. Remember, I always aliquot in Slurpee stage. So we're good with that. There's the plates. What do you do when you want to bring the stuff back? We ask that you do Form D. This slide needs to be changed because it'll say Form D, which is the lab results survey. That is you giving us feedback. Now, our lab results survey has been extended. We have a fair number of demographic questions in it now because we are trying to go after additional grant funding, and we need this information, okay? But it's voluntary. But also, the really, really critical stuff in there is, how did the labs work for you? Did all the equipment work? Did you get enough of all your supplies and reagents? Did you get the right results? We even ask what percentage of your students got the correct results. And you always want one group to mess up because that's a learning experience, right? You learn a lot more from mistakes. But we don't want everyone to not get transformation. So this is critical to us. We are constantly improving our program. We expect a certain level of success, okay? That's the worst thing when students don't get a good result, okay? So that's what you fill out. We also had a post-lab student survey that we're asking you to have your students fill out. I'm trying to think if we have the money and something to possibly try and enter the teachers whose students fill this out into some sort of raffle, and we'll pay for a pizza party or anything. Pressure Judo, she's the one in charge of the budget. I'm trying to get this to happen. But anyway, so this is asking students kind of like how they feel about biotech. Did they feel they learned something? It's also information for us to get more grant funding. Yes, ma'am.
Is there a way, maybe, I remember we did this a while back, like a pre and a post test, that would give you...
we did that, yeah. EDC funded, that was like at least 10 years ago, funded a really big pre-student survey and a post-student survey. And we got a lot of data from that. Actually, it's interesting because that data has been used by other programs. But we can consider that.
I'm seeing not as intense as it was before.
Right.
But something where the kids can, I would say for it to be most useful, they take a pre-test at the start, like maybe their introduction day or something, not too many questions.
Is this knowledge-based?
Yeah.
Okay.
And skills, knowledge and skills, and have it be a pre-test, all they get is a score. They don't get to see their answers if they got them right or wrong. And then at the close of the lab, take the same exact test, and this time they get a score and what they got right and wrong, and incorporate that as part of the art, the art.
We could definitely develop something like that. I think we would definitely need input from our teachers on that, as to what you feel is the most critical information to use. I know for a fact the program office is not interested in knowing that the students know exactly the terminology for Restriction Digest. It's more we're trying to see their general opinions of biotech and science in general, because another really big main focus of of the ABE program is to improve scientific literacy and
Right.
appreciation for science. That was another thing. You guys are science teachers. You are being bombarded even more than any other teachers, okay? Because, you know, a lot of people in this country are like anti-science now. So I just applaud you immensely for what you are dealing with, right? That's a really good idea.
I'm just
And we
being
might be able to
funding
develop them. Yeah.
for whatever
Exactly.
it is you need, because we are getting these things for free. It is a huge, wonderful thing.
It is.
So it's not that big of a deal if we spend 10 minutes at the beginning and 10 minutes at the end just to get that data about their views of something.
That's something we definitely will talk about. I will say that's one thing I wanted to mention. We're kind of like one of those giant Disney cruise ships, and then some of the other sites are like these little nice yachts, so they can woo. It's a lot to do something new with ABE-LA. It takes a lot of effort for us because we're such a huge site, and funding and time. So sometimes we can't be as responsive on something like that, but we value you giving us feedback and telling us what to do. We literally do create things when we can for you. Yes.
You can actually use that kind of data if you just implement it yourself to get funding to buy equipment through different organizations.
Okay.
And in a lot of districts, there are the board members that are always looking at donors choosing that to fund things that teachers are going out and doing that nobody else does.
So this is something, a survey is something we can come up with pretty easily. Coming up with like a new wet lab is a lot harder. Winnie, we're knocking you up on this, okay? Darren, what's your question?
The post-lab student survey, that's a Google form, yes?
It's a Google form that we ask to have your students do after they're done with the labs.
Do we have access to
Yes.
what the kids say?
No, they fill it out themselves, but you can see what they're asked. You can fill one out yourself.
If we asked, could we get a copy of what?
I guess so, yeah.
I mean, if hypothetically I made it a grade, look, you're gonna get, part of your grade is that you complete this post-survey.
Yeah, we always say maybe offer extra credit points.
And I wanted to know.
Yeah, we can tell you who's done it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so I
and we
should
can
reach out
probably
to
give you the
you.
data,
Okay,
yeah.
great.
But I'll tell you right now, it's focused. Do we still have the demographic questions?
Actually, the one thing is that the student survey is anonymous. We don't collect the student names.
We don't? We did last year. I think we did
We
last
do?
year.
I thought it was just the teacher name.
I think.
Yes, it's just the
Oh,
teacher's name.
okay, great. Yes, we have to really be careful about
Okay.
students, minors, their information.
Got it.
So we value, finish those before you return the kit. Otherwise Karen's gonna nag you when you come in, okay? I still nag you when you bring the kit back and I wanna know what's working and what's not. Cause I will go and spend half an hour with you going through the kit again. But that helps me to know your results, cause I generally ask and listen while you're talking to me and I'm counting things. But this asks you a little bit more specifically, like, I've had teachers say, well, it didn't work. Oh. I'm like, okay, how didn't it work? Part of the lab results survey is you are required to upload photos of your results. I require at least one gel for the digest ligation photo, at least one photo of a set of plates, at least one photo of a colony PCR. Okay? And we give instructions on how to upload that into our drive folder. That is so we can work through problems with you and assure that our program is working. And that teaches you. I like to say that when you walk out of one of our training workshops, you're not done. We're not a bio-rad kit. You get us. And we're constantly training you and teaching you more stuff and how to troubleshoot these things, okay? You have anything else? That's one of my wonderful kit checklists. I told you it's a little bit more complex. And there's 12 of everything. This is an example of one of the Sign Up Genius invitations. Please read this stuff. It is extremely distracting to have children running around while we check the kit. I ask you not to bring children unless you have a spouse or someone to watch them. I did have someone do that once, and I had these kids running up and down cement stairs. Oh my God, that was scary. But anyway, things like that. So also, what happens if I have construction here and I have to reroute how you come in? I may change the map. There's a link to a map. So I know you just want to sign up and get your spot, but try and read that too, okay? Because it does give directions on what to do for pickup and return. Anything else? Okay. We used to have a photo of angry Karen face, which was put the fear of God in it, and I don't know why we took it down. So, the reason why we're particular particular on this is because each host institute site has specific waste disposal rules, okay? So PBC has a much smaller autoclave than I do. I have a larger autoclave, but I still have to get your autoclave bags into a secondary container that fits in my autoclave. So when they're filled to the brim and Karen has to go in there with gloves and pull everything out, she's sitting there going, God, they're not getting their choice next year. I'm putting them in the worst spot. No, so oh, you gotta be nice to site coordinator. So it's actually on purpose why we have these rules. If you use like solo cups as your waste beaker, you can disinfect those yourself with fresh 10% bleach. It's E. coli, so you could use 70% isopropyl and let it dry in there. Okay. I don't want those back. If you have a spill and you have to clean up with paper towels, that's fine. But I don't want pizza. I mean, look at that. Someone put a yogurt container in there. Cake dispenser, okay?
Well, that's the kids that do
so
it.
you
and
do
you
that
have
to
to tell
remind
them.
them. Yeah.
You have to tell them.
And also, we would like you to bring your waste back when you return the kit. I don't really like it when you bring it back and 6 months later and it's full of fruit flies.
I don't know about you guys, but the waste I don't care about until the very end. So only that day do I put it out, and it's not in any normal trash can place, and it's taped to the end of my desk.
Right.
So it's not an obvious trash site where they would.
Yeah, only put it out when you start lab 5,
Yeah, that's
6,
it.
and 7.
Yeah.
Not before.
I was just trying to tell them, okay, today, the next labs are bacterial labs. Everybody be serious and careful, okay? And you are expected, one of the things in the ABE policies is you are expected to follow your school and your district's safety procedures, okay? So that was me passing the buck on you with liability. I don't know if you're allowed to use bacteria in your class. I'm assuming you are, but that's on you to check.
Occasional PT, I don't know what that is.
Paper towels.
Oh,
Sorry,
got it.
that's Karen with her stupid abbreviations.
I noticed that the tape is round this way. I usually tape it this way.
It's worse
long as
when you
it's
tape
double
it folded over. I actually
Prefer
send
that.
out twist ties with mine. I
Okay.
don't think any teacher uses them. So it's easier because I have to open those up so that steam can penetrate. Okay? So actually the one on the right has tape. I would prefer a twist tie, but that's better to tape that way than to fold it over like an envelope and tape it that way. It leaks more that way. So it's better to pinch it closed and twist tie it up there. Okay? And different sites have different procedures. I think Orange County has these large autoclavable bins that they give you to put those in to transport in your car. I give my teachers giant 33-gallon trash bags so that they can put the autoclave bags in that, and they don't have to put them directly on the floor of their car. It depends on the site what they do with that. Yes.
Just to clarify, what about gloves?
Gloves can go in there too, yes. And that's a good point. ABE-LA, we're so huge, we do not have the money to give you gloves for your students. We just can't afford that. Think about how many they go through. So unfortunately, we can't do that. I'm sorry. But if you have gloves, your students use gloves, and that's totally fine to come back in that. No waste bags. Anybody else? Any more slides for me, or am I done? Oh, okay. Yeah, gloves are okay. We have all of this online in case you don't, listen to Karen's recording. I love being in front of the camera. Again, there is a video, a wonderful video that Gio presented that goes through all of this, how to do everything. It's all online. You can read it too if you like to read. I'm not a video person. I'm an old-fashioned reading person. So check out our website. I will say to you that during the pandemic, we didn't sit on our butts. We developed a lot of resources. A lot. I actually sat so much at my desk I couldn't even get up to the bathroom. I had to walk through that way. Because we made so many resources. And a lot of the resources from LA got put into resources for the world. We are a leader, okay? So that we have not been sitting on our duffs. We have been creating things. And the program office has created a lot of nice, what I call dry labs, that you don't need equipment for, things that you can discuss with your students and extend these labs, okay? Any questions at all?
Okay, where are these dry labs?
Go to the ABE, if you go to our website, it'll link you to the general ABE programs website, and they'll have them under teacher resources.
Is that the general one?
I think she's trying to pull it up for you right now. Yeah, so if you go to the ABE, AmgenBiotechExperience.com, that's where they all are. And we're going to have Luz walk you through our resources because we've created so many, and we've organized and pulled the old ones away. a lot of our teachers haven't explored this. And so I'm finding that they're not using them, like, but wait, it's there. There's something called a Teacher's Toolkit, T3, that has all this information on troubleshooting for you. But if you don't know it's there and you don't have time to look, we really recommend you go through this stuff and look. So Luz is going to actually, I think I'm done, right?
Yep.
Yay!
Thank you. So to finish up today, Luz is going to go over some of the great resources we have, ABE-LA, and then after that we'll conclude with a raffle. Can we a quick thing? Sure.
Okay, we'll talk about the mountain of resources Karen was talking about that we did develop for you. So this will be sort of a brief overview, but most of these resources are going to be available through our website. So if you haven't memorized that yet, do it. www.amgenbiotechexperience.net/Los Angeles. Burn it into your brains, because that's going to be your Batman utility belt. You know when he pulls out like the hyper-specific stuff like bat repellent or like shark repellent? That's us. That's our website for our resources.
I'm so bummed it doesn't fit on a pen anymore.
So first off, we do want to talk about video resources, because the team has worked hard to produce some of these videos for you. We have 2 different YouTube channels you have access to. Again, when you go on our website, your utility belt, go to your specific site, your distribution site, and then all these links are there. So that's how you'll find them. But when you go to our YouTube channel, you can go through the playlists, and we have some really cool things on there. We'll have a playlist titled Guest Speaker Playlist, for example, and that is a playlist of very experienced master teachers sharing their tips and tricks. Like Lenny Sloan for Ventura County, she's really an iconic teacher. And we have a video of her sharing a lot of resources and tips, so super useful. If you're worried about something or really need help finessing something with the ABE Labs, check those videos out. And then we also have videos on just someone performing the labs. I think it's Karen for most of them.
Those are my hands. That's my home lab that I did it in.
Really like silent movies. Some of them have narration, some of them are just visual aids that can go with your labs. So you can find those on our ABE-LA YouTube channel. And then you also have access to the Program Office YouTube channel. They have their own version of the lab videos that you can check out too, so you have multiple versions of that. But they also have so much more. On the Program Office YouTube channel, you can find videos on differentiating instruction. You can find videos on connecting ABE to NGSS if you're interested in learning more about that. The teacher roundtables they were talking about, those really highlight your voices through performing the ABE, your projects, anything that you want to share with the community. Those videos are on there, they're stored, so if there's a specific topic that you want to learn about, like this one, for example, this is culturally responsive and sustaining curriculum for the Precision Medicine Lab, which we'll hopefully have out soon, a new PDI for that. You can go and check those resources out too. So it's a really comprehensive list and playlist for the Program Office. So you have options. And moving on, everyone should be familiar with Lab Exchange by this point, right? Especially if you've done a PDI very recently. Lab Exchange is a platform for teaching and learning science. It's available to everyone thanks to money from the Amgen Foundation. I think recently they committed over $30 million to developing Lab Exchange. So it's really going to keep growing. It's accessible to you now. We have a couple of different classes on there.
How many of you have registered for a?
Should we all be?
Okay. One thing you can do is register as an ABE teacher, and we're making it so you can connect with each other and share resources on Lab Exchange.
If we're already registered, how do we?
You would go into your profile.
Okay.
Because you guys can find me on there.
Yeah.
If you look for Amgen Biotech Experience through people, you'll find me.
Yeah, you can find all of us on there, and if you have specific questions or you want to email other ABE teachers, you can interact. It's kind of like a social media platform version of Lab Exchange. But yeah, you can go in and edit your own profile.
And quick question about
yes.
Is Lab Exchange, because I've been using it literally like you guys, it came out in January and we went out in March.
Yeah, you know what's funny? The year before we were trying to get people to use it, we were actually giving out gift cards to get them, and then that pandemic came and made it real successful.
But is there any training or PD being offered like at CSTA at ABT, any of those, because I've like brought it up in my district because I've been using it, but like it's so nobody knows about it.
Yeah.
And it's not just great for ABE stuff. It's
Yes,
not-
exactly.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
They do.
We have that sort of like very introductory class that I think we need to fill out more, because that was first created by Carol, who never actually used the program in school. So we would like actually input from you.
To share with me?
Oh, I'm sorry, I think I misunderstood and just opened my mouth too soon. She's asking specifically about the Amgen, not Lab Exchange in general.
Well, I think she's asking about.
I went to one, I went to a virtual, and I think they said they recorded it, but they have, for Lab Exchange, they did an online like webinar I did during distance learning. And I think they're recorded and on the site, and they walk you through how to do it.
We could look for that and then maybe email it to all of you with these resources so that it's
And put it on as a class code.
Yeah, yeah, we can see
Put
what
it in that last class, yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. We'll look into that.
It's also a platform if you want to use it for grading, putting your classes in and so
Yes,
forth.
you can track your students' engagement with all of the labs. I was just about to talk about some of what our course topics, but you have a question?
Inside of them, does it show how many minutes each part of it is?
It doesn't show
So you can
time.
figure out the pacing?
It doesn't show time, but it does show you all of the items. So
It'll
all
show
of the
you time on
assignments
videos.
within,
Yeah.
Okay.
within a class. So you can plan it that way. You can also use it with other platforms like Google Classroom. We've seen some integration with them, so there's options. You have a question too?
Yeah, I think the suggestion was to see about having somebody from ABE do a session at like NABT or,
CSTA.
some of these meetings, NSTA, so that it is open to other things, and that might also bring them into ABE.
That's a good idea. Is that something we can do, or would that be?
We actually were considering, we have to put forth a certain amount of money, and we're in the last year of our grant cycle, right, Gio? So we were thinking of getting a table, but it's interesting. I think it'd be important to get feedback from you guys as what you would want to see at that. We weren't sure if we would use it as a recruiting opportunity, or I'm not sure what. But,
Yeah, more like a workshop, educational opportunity. So that's a really great suggestion. And as Karen said, we're thinking about doing it this year, but more as like a recruitment event. But we ended up deciding against it. But now that you're indicating that there's a need for spreading the word, outside the ABE program, I think that's a great idea.
Well, and especially if you're talking about trying to find, harder to access locations where maybe they aren't able to get the physical materials, but we could be exposing them and having them go through the program virtually.
That's actually one of the guiding reasons why ABE invested this money in it, because they knew they only had so many ABE sites and they wanted to reach students that weren't near there. So that's very important to them. So, it'd be great if the people that brought up this idea could email their coordinators or our general email, and so we can get feedback from you of what you'd want to see at that.
Yeah, we can also, again, go through that video, the resources that are already available, and then maybe pick and choose some of the best content from there and put it together for that. But thank you for your
Can you log on and do the lessons as a teacher?
Yes, they're accessible to anyone. So you can log in and take a class if you want to just get ahead of it and do a lab before. You can do it. You can also make them accessible to your students. So we have, first off, a background biology fundamental concepts. So these are concepts that we recommend brushing up on and feeling very secure with before you teach the labs. So you can use this for yourself. Say you're a middle school teacher and it's been a while, you haven't talked about DNA. You can go on there and brush up, or you can use it as an assignment for your students so that they brush up before they go into doing a genetic engineering curriculum. So how you use them is up to you, but they're available to you. So we have that fundamental course. We also have the complete abridged we have the complete and abridged full curriculum on there. And these courses include lab simulations. So you actually are performing all the lab protocols with the equipment, with the correct reagents. You're just doing it virtually. So we don't really want you to not do the labs. This is just to supplement and complement them. So if you have a student who's absent, right, and they need to know what you did the day before to continue on with the lab or with the lab group, you can put them on Lab Exchange and they did the lab. So they won't miss out on that critical information, and then they can jump back into wherever you are in your class.
And are there errors in there that they have to problem solve through?
There are a lot of
The
prompts.
students can do errors in the procedure, yes,
Yes.
and they'll learn from that, yeah.
You get best practices tips. So if they make a mistake, they're like, you don't really want to do it that way because of this, and then go ahead.
If you log in, it's a free site. You scroll to the bottom and it says help, and under help center it says tutorials, and they'll walk you through step by step what you need to do and how you can modify it for your particular class.
Awesome. So that's
So
super
it's all
helpful.
there.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that I've heard before, when you contact Lab Exchange people too, they're very responsive. So you can get answers to any specific Lab Exchange technical questions or anything else that you need help with. So
But not in the moment. So like if you have a kid and I'm right in the middle of it,
No,
then you
that's
know
going to be
how
more a
do
site
that.
coordinator role. Like,
give
I
it
don't
a
know
day
where
or
to take.
two.
Yeah, it's maybe like a 2, business day response time. But yeah, if you have an immediate emergency, like I don't know what to do right now, that's just going to be a site coordinator call. And then, like Karen mentioned, the last class we have on here is some tips and tricks for virtual instruction using Lab Exchange. But you might also want to check out, like Winnie pointed out, what Lab Exchange offers, and they might have a more detailed version of how to implement this into your classrooms. But you can use it. And yeah, like mentioned before, it's not just for ABE. You have a ton of STEM content on there. So if you want to talk to your class or set something up about CRISPR, you can bring up Lab Exchange and bring up modules and then use them to teach that. Or move forward from this or introduce ABE. So there's a lot of variety on there.
It's really like an open access platform. So a lot of people create content and that can be publicly viewed, and so you can like pick pieces and classes from those sections to modify your own curriculum.
On the bottom of each one of those, it says how many learners. What is that relating to?
That's
Is
how
that,
many people are enrolled.
oh, was this
Whenever
just a
whenever
screenshot?
we have a workshop,
Okay.
we ask them to complete one of these classes before. So you have to ask for access to these classes using those codes, and then we let you in to the class. Then you can actually copy that class and clone it if you want to use it.
So if you went home today and then signed up for all these classes, for example, if you haven't already done so, someone will go and accept you, and then these will be on your dashboard, and then you can use them for whatever you want to use them for. More questions? Yes.
I would just make one other comment on that, and I'm not a big user of this, but if you go underneath teacher resources, you can get question sets, and you can literally pull up gel electrophoresis equipment and application and ask 15 questions. It's self-graded in the moment, immediate feedback, and those might be really good preps before you actually do that section of the lab.
Yeah.
They could do it as a lab team and get immediate feedback on it.
These are the kinds of suggestions I would love to get from our teachers so that we can beef up our virtual instruction using labs.
We do need to do that. I think that we could.
What you guys are actually using it for and what you need it for. We need more of that in that class. That's just a very basic one.
Yeah. Well, if you have any more ideas as you start exploring this, if you haven't already done so, go ahead and email the ABE email or email any one of your site coordinators, and we'll start collecting this because I like the discussion that came from Lab Exchange today. So moving on, we do have the T3 that Karen mentioned before. You can go again to the website and then go to your specific site, pull down all of those resources, and then you'll notice that it's on there. The Teacher's Troubleshooting Toolkit. This is really cool because it's a one-stop shop. If you are someone who's like, I don't want to go to all these different links to get a ton of information and have all these tabs open, the T3 will guide you through everything. It's 4 different sections, and the first section will go over the program overview, implementation overview. Second section will tell you how to unpack a kit, how to repack a kit. So it's very, very specific. Then third section, anything you want to know about reagents, how to store them, what happens if you store them incorrectly, it's on there too. How to best prep for a class. And then the fourth section is just, again, all of the resources I already spoke about. They're linked in the T3. So you can literally have this up from the start of your kit reservation until the very end, and it'll walk you through every step. So this is an alternative to the kit notebook, but you can use that as well if you like the paper copy or the hard copy. If you don't like the hard copy, you can bring up the T3 and it's there. You do need a password to access it, which is on here. So yeah, as long as you log in, you'll have access to the T3. Any questions on that?
Can you hold on to the number? I can't see it.
The password?
Yeah, I don't know what's after the 0.
It's ABEP, all capital, and then you have lowercase r, 0, lowercase f, capital L, 3, lowercase a, r, n. Should have made that bigger. Let me know if you get in. I want to make sure it works for you. Are they getting this PowerPoint? You also get the PowerPoint, so you can. Should have said that from the start. So you can, you'll have access to it.
Did you mention the search function on the T3, which is, I think, the best thing?
You can talk about.
Oh, there's a search function.
So this will be like when you use Control F for the Kit notebook, use the search function for this. But again, just have it up. Any detailed question you have, it'll go through it. So if for whatever reason your psych coordinator's not answering, maybe it's like 10 p.m. and you're deciding to prep it then, you always have this as a resource.
Wait a minute. We developed the T3 in order to get you to try and solve your problem so we can get 6 a.m. calls. We will still help you at 6 a.m., but we want you
to maybe 6 a.m., but maybe not 10 p.m. 11 p.m. So, but yeah, 6 p.m. If for whatever reason you don't like the T3, I think it's great. I was on there and I was like, wow, it even tells you who to contact if you aren't sure who to contact about a specific issue. It'll tell you where to go. But if you don't like it, you can always go back to the drive. We love the drive and a ton of folders, right? You can always go to your teacher's general resources where you'll find mountain of folders. And in there, you'll see folders for all of the lab series. And when you click on each lab series, you will find troubleshooting PowerPoints for those labs there as well. So if you're someone who's comfortable with the drive and you've been using it for a while, you'll find that information there too. So lots of options for you. This is something I was talking about with some of you earlier. The program office is developing the Amgen or the ABE Volunteer Program. So we're currently working on developing this. It's not live yet, but it will be soon. You actually will have profiles of different Amgen industry partners or scientists, and you will be able to select someone to come into your classroom and talk to your students. And so we're trying to build that classroom industry pathway connection. Go ahead.
Are they going to be live scanned? So is it one of the requirements for visiting lecturers is that they're live scanned in our district? Yeah.
That's something I think we need to
If they're going to be in the classroom, there's all
You can
sorts of
also do
protocols.
Zoom. We can do Zoom speakers. So about that though, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that, but a lot of the volunteers, like on their profile, it'll say whether or not they're willing to come in person. A lot of them are Zoom sessions, so they'll just like connect at a certain time with your students. That way the students can interact with them and ask questions, but they won't actually be there in person.
Good question.
If like schools do career days, is there a way that we could connect with you to like have speakers come in for career days?
So through this program here, you might also be able to request teachers to potentially, not teachers, sorry, the program partners to come in to do events like that. But if, this isn't up and running by then, you're still able to contact the site coordinator, and we have a connection and one single person who kind of like leads the efforts of finding volunteers, so we could reach out to her. But the way it really works if we reach out to her is that she just essentially puts up on a bulletin board, like, does anyone want to come do this? And then if we're lucky, someone that's walking past the bulletin board will look at it and say like, oh, like I'm willing to go help out at this event. So that is a possibility. Once this is up and running, we will be sending out an email to everyone. If not from us, the email might come directly from the program office advertising it. But either way, when it is up and running, you will know. But up until then, yeah, you're always free to just contact your site coordinators, and we'll do whatever we can to try to make things like that happen.
I actually did this last year. And so I just filled out a Google form and then connected with the person who was, and she connected me with somebody, and then we were able to have them come in person.
Yeah, so that's the difference. In the past, it used to be that they would do like a two-way connection where you fill out a form and then whoever is setting up the partnerships would pick someone that they think would be best suited for your needs. Now what they're trying to do is give you the ability to look through the profiles and say, this is the person that I think best represents like the population of students I'm working with and best represents, you know, whatever we're discussing in class this day. So that's what the new update is.
So that's it for this. As soon as it's up, we'll let you know. But one final thing we want to talk about is we are really interested in developing our outreach opportunities. So we really want to, if you will have us, come into your schools and do some labs with students that may not normally get these labs. So maybe these aren't going to be labs with students that you're running the ABE labs in your classroom with, but it might be other students. Maybe it's in a middle school that you think could really benefit from getting use out of a micropipette or seeing that for the first time. I think that it's a great program to develop. So if you want to invite us to any science fair, STEM expo, anything that you can fit us in, we are happy to come down and set something up. We'll do all the work. You don't have to worry about it. All you have to tell us is where to stand, and we even have tables, right? We can borrow tables from Karen. We'll carry them out there.
If you have tables to lend us, we appreciate it.
Yes, of course, not going to say no, but we'll do most of the work. You don't have to worry about it. This is an example of what we've done before. This is a middle school in South LA. It's part of our funding partner schools. So we set up a strawberry DNA extraction kit, and then next to that we set up a micropipetting lab, like lab 1, and then the students also got to micropipette dyes into a gel electrophoresis gel. We couldn't run the gel electrophoresis because we didn't have power. Yeah, but this is middle school, right? So they got to extract DNA for the first time for many of them. They got to see DNA for the first time, and then they got to visualize how that DNA might be used with a micropipette. So what's going to happen to these middle school students when they go to high school and they see a micropipette? They're going to have that confidence because they're like, oh, I've done this before. I remember that one day. And so we build that confidence that way, and we get to reach some students that we normally might not be able to reach through our regular programming. So if you have any events, let us know, invite us. We want to be there.
I would add, even beyond your school. So if you hear about a recreational center where you live or something like that, we're willing to do that. We did that in Thousand Oaks, done it in Ventura.
Yeah, bug fairs, if you have any like community events, we'll be there. We really do this for the love of science. You know, you guys are also warriors in the war against science, fighting, championing for science. So this is why we do it. Other than that, though, I think that might be it. Yeah.
So of course we do want to say thank you to everyone who makes this project a reality. So all our different host institutions, doing Untitled Labs, that gives us a ton of reagents. And of course the Amgen Foundation, where our funding is coming from, and LA Promise Fund, who is our financial institution that allows us to make this program work. So with that, the exciting time comes, raffle! So where is the raffle?
Has anybody been spiking that bucket while we've been talking?
Yeah, right?
If only we had found
Did everybody get a raffle ticket? You did not. Let's do a raffle ticket.
Should I film we have another one over here that didn't get one. What?
Should I film the raffle?
Anybody else?
No. Unless you're willing to edit it.
Karen, did they tell us where to do the internships? Where was that link for the internships? Do you remember?
Internships.
Yeah, they had something.